and
Oddworld.
Hey oddballs, I'm your host Jensen, and welcome to episode 113. I'm getting right into it today because I am so excited for this episode. We've got some really great stories, and you're gonna learn real quick about a mythical creature. So here we go. It's lesson time. Today's mythical creature lesson is the Manticore. The Manticore is a mythical creature from Greek and Persian mythology, described as a fearsome beast with the body of a lion, the wings of a bat, and the tail with deadly spines. The Manticore symbolizes power, ferocity, and self-protection. If the Manticore appears in your dreams, it may urge you to tap into your inner strength, stand up for yourself more, and respect your own limits. As always, I want to know if this applies to your guys' lives. Head on over to my website and go to my comments and let me know. But we're going to go ahead and move on to stories.
This comes from an anonymous writer.
Came across this sub and figured I might as well share my experience. It's about Buddhist belief, and there are two parts of the story. Part 1. This happened about a couple years ago, early in the morning. About 5 a.m., I was using the metro station's restroom when I came across some sort of figure out of the corner of my eyes. I'm pretty sure the figure was waving at me, but when I turned around, there was no one there. So I jokingly say out loud something like, if that was really someone, then let's make a deal. If my commute from work to home is smoother, just for the following month, I will perform Padidana for you. It's a Buddhist belief of transferring or sharing merits to the departed. Surprisingly, the following month and commute went really smooth. I always found a parking spot no matter how late I was to the station's parking lot, and the train I got on was always the one that isn't packed. After that month, I performed the Padidana as promised, and everything went back to normal. Suck ass traffic and commute. Part 2. Time went by until late last January, early February. I had to work overtime until about 11 p.m. My office is in a somewhat old building, about 35 to 40 years old, with renovation from time to time. It was a restroom again. My office's restroom urinal is sensor type with no auto flushing. I know because I worked with the renovation team. As I was doing my business at the urinal, the next one started flushing all of a sudden. I think of what happened before, and my intrusive thought got a hold of me, which I said, if you really are here, do the sink too. And the sink next to the one I washed my hands really turned on, also sensor, and I didn't walk past the sink. It's in the other direction. Then I made the deal again. Same thing, commuting and traffic stuff. But this time, I forgot about it after a month. Until May, which is summer where I live. One night in my apartment, I woke up sweating a lot. When I looked at my AC's remote, which is hung on the wall opposite of my bed, it was set to fan-only mode, not cooling mode. I was a bit confused, but didn't pay any attention. I made sure that no timer was set on the remote, turned the cooling mode back on, and went back to bed. The following night, it got worse. I experienced something like sleep paralysis for the first time, I woke up half asleep and felt like someone was using a finger to write something on my palm. But I couldn't interpret what he, she, they, it, whatever was writing. When I came to, I sprang myself up as hard as I could. One of the locals' beliefs is that if you are haunted in your sleep, you must gather all your strength and try to get up as hard and as fast as you can. And my AC was set to fan mode again. The next day, I talked with my friend over the phone about what happened, and he told me that I might have forgotten the promise. I told him that it was more likely that the sensor just glitched. Everything seemed normal so far, which he suddenly interrupted me. Would you call what happened the last couple nights normal? Then I realized. This time I went to a temple, told a monk about my situation, and he helped me in performing a greater parinada. Everything has really been back to normal since then, but I now wear a blessed necklace the monk gave me all the time. That's about it. First of all, I'm really sorry if I butchered the name of what that I'll call ceremony is. I really tried to look it up before I said it, which I do with most words when I'm confused, and I couldn't find a good description. So I am so sorry if I butchered that completely. Anyhow, how freaking weird is this? The fact that this person is talking to the spirit and is like, hey, can you make my commute good? And then everything is perfectly fine for this person. They have no issue getting to work. And then they perform the little ceremony to do their thing. And then it's back to normal. And then they run into another spirit and do the same thing. But this time they forget to perform the ceremony and it doesn't end well until it does. I think it's funny that it took their friend saying, hey, do you really think that what you've been experiencing has been normal? Because I don't think so. For them to go, oh yeah, you're probably right. Yeah, probably should do that. And it's funny because the title of this one is called I Broke a Promise to Something. Yes, you did break your promise. But you know what? It's okay. You made it up to them and now you're protected because guess what? Now you'll never be able to do that again as long as you wear that necklace. I mean, hopefully. But also kind of at the same time, can we just jump back and go, wow, the fact that these spirits on the other side are more or less helping this person have a great commute. I mean, really, just think about that for a minute. This person was like, hey, I promise you this if you give me this. And then they just do. Now, don't go getting ideas like me because I'm getting ideas from this story and I don't think that that's like what is supposed to be happening. But I wonder if it would come in handy for like paranormal investigating. Some kind of version for sure. I'm not saying like I'm going to do a Buddhist ceremony. I mean, I know absolutely nothing about that, but I could do my own version of something. I don't know. It just has my brain rolling now and thinking, how can I use this without like pissing off the other side, but also like kind of getting what I need out of an investigation. I don't know. But what I do want to know is, what do you guys think of this story? Because it's a pretty good one. It's a pretty good one. But we're going to go ahead and move on to the next story.
This comes from acceptable-age5461 on Reddit.
This past weekend, my husband and I tagged along with 2 Ohio paranormal investigation teams to check out Helltown in Ohio. We ended up officially joining one of the teams, so I'm excited for future adventures. Anyway, for anyone familiar, our research was conducted in a barn. And for the unfamiliar people, the barn is one of the few structures still standing, and it's located between a huge field and the woods. The barn is one of the few structures still standing, and it's located between a huge field and the woods. Things were going pretty smooth until a few hours in, things started picking up. and we actually had a few decent things happen. Things started picking up when the whole group, 7 of us total, gathered in a small stall to conduct an EVP session. As everyone was standing completely still and quiet, everyone could hear someone walking around the outside of the room, and a few of us heard voices. We originally thought some other investigator showed up, but when we went out, no one was in the barn or the field outside of it. My husband and a couple of other people went downstairs to look, and plain as day heard whistling. If you know, you know. I've conditioned my husband to know the rules, but he volunteered his tribute to go out and look around. Luckily, nothing happened, and we couldn't find the source of the whistle, but we decided to do another EVP down there. As we were all standing silent again, everyone starts seeing shadows running past the windows and gaps between the boards and the walls. After everyone calmed down from that, we decided to try to get one more EVP session in the upstairs room before we packed up to head out. As soon as we started once again, we could hear someone walking around. I got to the point I was so spooked that I was done and I wanted to go home. So we all gathered our stuff and as a group started the 20-minute walk back to our cars. Before we left the area, we stopped and did a spirit box session and told the spirits they weren't allowed to go home with us. Evidently that didn't work because the night before last, my sister came down and said she could hear someone walking around her room on the other side of the curtains she has put up. The floor is really creaky, so it's hard to miss the footsteps. Then last night, I woke up at 3 to use the bathroom, and as I was lying there to fall back asleep, I heard someone running back and forth across my house, at least 3 to 4 times, then heard what sounded like a heavy dresser being pushed across the wood floor. Mind you, I have all carpeted floors. I was terrified and almost woke up my husband to go look around. After a few minutes of silence, I got up the courage to see if one of my kids was up. But they were all passed out and snoring. I cleansed my house today and sounded like a crazy person screaming out whatever it is to get out. So we'll see how things go tonight. I love this one / hate this for this person. I did message them and then I kind of realized what I said to them was already in the story, sort of, kind of. But I messaged them and told them that this sounds silly, but they need to tell the spirit to get in their car and go with them. And then they go back to the location that they went and investigated, open the car door and tell them to get out and that they are not allowed to get back in and follow them back home. Granted, I understand that while they were there, they said they are not allowed to be followed home. And clearly something said, I don't really give a shit what you have to say, and I'm gonna do it. So I'm not really too sure my little idea is gonna work for that, but it's worth a shot. I mean, the only reason why I suggested that was because I have had 2 people in my life now have something follow them back home from one of my favorite places to investigate, and both of those times 2 completely different people, they don't know each other at all, but they've driven all the way back, and I'm using air quotes, you can't see it, but dropped off the spirit, and then they had no more experiences going on in their life. So for any of you who are listening who get an attachment or something, just go drive it back to where you came from. Basically, drive it back to where it came from, and yeah. But for this person, obviously, I feel like they did all the right moves and said, no, you're not allowed to follow us home. And then it did. So clearly this entity, spirit, whatever, does not care about boundaries. So feels like we need something a little harsher for this one than just taking it back. Plus, I don't really know how convenient that is for this person just to, drive there. Anyhow, if you guys have any ideas of what this person could do, if their stuff still isn't straight and they have things going on, please let me know, let them know, because clearly this spirit doesn't care. Honestly, that's really rude. So anyhow, if you have a paranormal story like either story today or any paranormal story in general, let me know. And I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And well, it's an odd world after all. Oddballs, thank you for listening. And if you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to leave 5 stars or thumbs up on whatever podcast platform you listen on. If you have any comments for this episode, comment below or head over to Instagram and comment on this episode's preview. To submit a story or for more information, go to itsanoddworldafterall.com.